This is Daf Yomi Yerushalmi Eruvin in the article Oz B'Har Edition Rachel Beis and Malaf at the Mishnah, Nosa Milam Malam El Sor Tvachim, and in the Vilna that's on Daf Chof Amud Beis, the Mishnah, which is 3 says about Malach Gimel. Nosa Bilan, you put your Eruvin in a tree, Malam El Sor Tvachim, above 10 Tvachim, more than 10 Tvachim above the ground. So the Bnei Moshe explains, below me it's tree Rishus Harabim. B'yeshbo arba arba, that's 4 by 4 in the sides of its trunk. So therefore you put the Eruv above 10 Tvachim, and Eruv is not valid Eruv. You, we assume, wanted to acquire your place to have your tchum below on the ground. Rishus Harabim, and you're Rishus Harabim, Beruv Rishus Yochin, you're Rishus Yochin. Can the Rochav Arbas, because since the trunk is 4 by 4, you're not allowed to take your Eruv, even at the time when your car there should be no shmoshes. The Kamamti Rishus Yochin, because they for Rishus Yochin to Rishus Harabim, not even a Carmelis. V'lo have Eruv. I'm not so matam esara, but we put it below 10 Tvachim. We shall have it el Carmelis, where it is only a Carmelis. Charachav arba ad asora v'lo asor b'chlal Carmelis, because any thing which is 4 by 4 up to 10, not including 10, is including Carmelis. Havya became the boy the Mishka le Eruv, since he can take his Eruv ain't got el Issa Shvus, so it's the Rabbana mi Carmelis Shus Harabim, taking from Carmelis to Shus Harabim. Have Eruv. That's an Eruv. But as a Rebbe, it's kind of like Rebbe. The Chol Devar Shum Shvus, anything which is, and it's the Rabbanan, Lo Gazla Ben Hashmashos, the Rabbanan did not answer during twilight. Therefore here, when the Eruv is acquired. Therefore here, Ava Gavika Mishtamish Elon, even though you're also has a problem using the tree, when you take the Eruvin, Emekaklum, that's also not a problem. The Zenami Lo Have, Ela Mishum Shvus, it's only the Rabbanan. Lo Gazla Filo Trey Shvus Ben Hashmashos. They didn't even answer a double Shvus. Going from a Carmelis to Shus Harabim and using a tree ben hashmashos. So the Nasi in the Malam is Tvachim says Mishnah Eino Eruv, it's not about Eruv. The Matam is Tvachim. If it's older than Tvachim, have Eruv. Eruv, it's a very valid Eruv. Nasi bebor. If you put in a bore, I feel if it's 100 amma deep, raise Eruv. That's an Eruv. Now, the Nasi bebor says the Moshe, that's about Vabor Rishus Yachid, the Bor Rishus Yachid, because more than 5 deep. V'oime bekarmelis, but this is only telling about where the rim of the bor is a karmelis. Come a bikos, such as by open area in the fields. With karmelishus lemalos fasa bor, you have in mind to acquire your tchum on the rim of the bor. Matzi mishkalei, you're to take it she'el mishum shvus. There's only a shvus lo gazla ben hashmashos, is not prohibited ben hashmashos. Picha afil omok mea amo, therefore even it's 100 amma deep. Okay, it's more Rishus Yochin. It's raise the area because you can take from the Rishus Yochin to the Carmelis. Nosa b'rosh ha'koneh or b'rosh ha'kuntes. You put it at the head of a stick or the head of the pole. It says polo blaz. Bisman shetolish v'notes, if this the stick or the pole is tolish, it's not connected to the ground. It's not growing from the ground. Even if it's plugged into the ground. Even if it's 100 amas high, raise Eruv. This is to be an Eruv. So the Bnei Moshe says again, if it's growing from the ground, or if it's not just growing from the ground, if it's cemented to the ground. The time of the Hoil Vakonarach. The reason is because since the stick is soft, we're afraid you're going to snap it. This definitely because it's soft, it's going to snap. It's not a shvus, because if it's growing from the ground, it's kotzer. Presumably, if it's connected to the ground, it would be a stira. Although there we have a whole shiloh whether the stira is the raisa, the rabbanon, but it sounds like even Seitzer might be a problem here. I will be under kosher, but a tree which is tough. And now you should go up and snap off a twig in your hands. We're not concerned. There's the whole issue. The shvus of potentially going up the tree. The logos of the Ben Hashmashos, they were guys of Meshwas, and they weren't choshesh. go inside and go up in the tree, and they weren't chayshish, then you're going to go up and snap off a branch. Nasna b'mida v'no b'fana b'ava maftech. Mishnah goes on and says you put it into a closet, and literally a tower, it means like a closet, a cabinet. And you locked it, you lost the key. Raise the Eruv. It's still valid Eruv. So the Moshe says, not the middle shall 8, you put into a wooden closet, but not before you lost the key, raise the Eruv. The Gemara says, it's like where the lock is closed with ropes. You can't find the key. The only way you get to it is like cutting the ropes, besaking with a knife. Tanakama suffer the Tanakama though is since you can cut through the ropes, besaking with the thousand sakin you're allowed to carry. Now it is there, but it's not muktzah issue. It's the shvus bechatichas achevel the mekalkul is only the rabbanon of being mekalkul b'chol mekalkul peturin. And anybody who's the kalkus platter of shatznias, Erev Shemei Nashmashos, lo goes mishum shvus, no isid rabbanon of mekalkul, and also no isid rabbanon of. And my name mekalkul if there's actually food inside, you need the food, right? But there's also isid of carrying, if it's a carmelis. So the matzi michtal cheva mishkal Erev, you can cut the rope and take your Erev, not a problem. Listen to the Krabbi Nechemer. Blows the Nechemer. Tomer ain't clear. We didn't read yet. Doesn't matter. Im ein yodua shemaftech mekomo ein eruv. Don't know the key is where the key is. It's not a valid eruv. And he says here in the Pnei Moshe, Lezer Svilei Krabbi Nechemer. Tomer ain't clean nita l'tzorch tashmisho. A kli can only be taken for its proper purpose. Vasakin ain't tashmisho och, and a knife is only purpose is only for food. He'll also tell to the sakin that you can't carry the knife. Yachtoch dover achit to cut something else. Kim dikach tartis. It's the two issues here. Tilta sakin, carrying the knife, bechatichas hakevel, and cutting this rope. Afili, I mean, the davar shemishus lo gozo lo bein hashmoshos. Chegam dikach tartis shvus gozo lo bein hashmoshos. That's all. It's 2 shvus, no good. So the rabbanon of carrying and the rabbanon of the rabbanon of the muktzah and the rabbanon of cutting the rope, they are a problem. The Alexander Rabbi Lazar. I mentioned carrying before. I think I mentioned carrying, and the form of carrying in Rishus Rabbim or Karmos, but that's not an issue because it could be within 4 amos, so not necessarily an issue intrinsically in our Mishnah. So the Gemara it says, "Harei the erev as tatlo." Korban Eda explains, "Harei l'matim estor raise the erev." It's low tense to the erev, but also the tatlo not allowed to move it. Kamishtar because using the tree. So if you have to move the tree in order to get it, then you can't move it, and therefore it would not be a valid eruv. So Gemara asked the obvious question: Because if the eruv is valid eruv, you mutar tatlo, you should be allowed to carry it. You must tatlo, if you're not allowed to carry it, lo eruv eruv, shouldn't be valid eruv. Well, gives the answer which we already know from the emotion of the Mishnah. Roy lavra l'shvus v'lechol v'lechol. He can violate the shvus. As the Korban Eda says, "Shai roy lo shar yochel avra shvus bein hashmoshes." He can be over the shvus bein hashmoshes. Do shatznias erev when the erev takes effect, and to eat it. There's a shimish milan elo shvus because the usage of a tree is only an issa d'rabbanan. Kenan beitza elohei mishul shvus lo lim ilan. It says so you can't go up a tree midah rabbanan. Hilchah kana erev afil hachi. Therefore, the erev is acquired, but nevertheless. Also, Shabbos, you can't carry it on Shabbos. Now, we did mention previously that the Sumchos holds. So, yesterday we mentioned the Sumchos holds that even Isra, which is not a Shvus, you can violate in order to make an Erev. I mean, you can not actually violate, but theoretically, you can be in potential violation of and still make the Isra Beis HaPras and still have valid Erev, but our Sugya doesn't address that kind of Isser. It's only talking about specifically, it seems, the Isser Shvus of Shabbos, not another Isser Rabbanon of Tumas Beis HaPras. Last Gemara, again, we have prior knowledge of all this because we do the Pnei Moshe, but Me'ata afilu l'mal mesar, even if it's above 10 tefachim, it also shouldn't be a problem. Why is that the low 10 tefachim? So Shem Shmuel said, Hipata shows the kirso, the trunk, was 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim, and therefore then it's already Shusa Yochid. Amar Mona said again, we know something Moshe, Shusa Rabbi Makafta Mikol Tzad. We're talking about with the tree surrounded by Shusa Rabbi. But Omer Shvisasi Tachtav, and it says, or Tam Das, Moshe said, was Shvisa is underneath it. Because then you can't get at it from the Moko Shvisa, Moko Shvisa, Shusa Rabim, and the Eruv is above 10 Fachim in Shusa Yachid. Interestingly, the art school has Koroso, it writes it then, as a Rinag Bar, then it writes with a Kuf, Kora, like the word beam. Okay. Okay, next one, we're going to go to the Girs of Carbon Ada. The art school has a slightly different change based on B'chaim, but similar idea. Tani, we learned Nasa B'Kalkola. You put your Eruv in a basket. Slob Elon, you put it in a tree. And here Carbon puts in the word Afilu, even above L'malam Yasar Tvachim, even above 10 Tvachim, takes the word Eno here. Eruv, it's a valid Eruv. Us, and then takes out the words L'malam Yasar Tvachim, Eruv, just the words Asa Tatlo. You can't take it. Can't take it. Lamata, if it's below lamata, it should be lamata me'asar tfachim mutar tatlo. If it's below 10 tfachim, you're allowed to take it. Of course, for kasha, it's difficult. Im eruv you mutar tatlo. If it's eruv is about eruv, you should be allowed to move it. If you also you're not allowed to move it, lo eruv. It's going to be about eruv. Because it's above 10 fachim from the ground. So it's in Rishus Yachid, you're Rishus Rabbi. How's about Erev? Rabbi Achim Shem Mechina said, Royal Hofcho Lebata Rishus Yachid Shaba. Because you can turn it upside down. The Karmei explains, Tolva Kalkola Aruka, since it's long, Choli Toisa, you can turn it. It's evidently on the side of the tree. And not uprooted from where it's hanging. V'yata rosha echad, and incline one end of it until it's below 10 fachim. No longer be rishus yachid. At that point, it's not a wouldn't be can only be a carmelist. You're rishus rabin below. That's only it's a rabbanon to take from a carmelist rishus rabin. Therefore, the eruv would be a valid eruv. So there are many ways to learn how it's a vatal rishus yachid inside, but Reb Chaim learns like this in the like it's in the Bavli over here. That it's only the tree itself is less than 4x4 tvachim, but together with the basket, and we're saying chokim lahashlim, you can have the platform of the basket be 4 tvachim going across that way. Okay, so it's together that be 4x4 with the basket. Once you turn the basket upside down, you no longer have that 4x4. So that's a mevatel l'rishus hayachid, right? Because chokim lahashlim is when you could say it's 4x4 when you have it's facing in the same direction up like this. It serves as a platform, but that's no longer serving as a platform. Actually, I'm not 100% sure about that. Could be that because the way he says it here, listen to what Reb Chaim writes. He says, "Shkein bekorta arba." The trunk is not 4 tvachim. It's not only 4. It's only above 10 tvachim. Mishum shekol mitzdarefes mashlim el arba. Because the kakola joins and makes it arba. But kem shelavcha the kakola outsida. Perhaps turning upside down will also be a problem, even though it's facing downwards. It's not really a platform to put anything on, but perhaps it's a platform on top. Still, the Erev is facing downwards. It's not on top of a platform 4x4. But could be that he says al tzida, it's because we can turn it sideways. And therefore it's a ma'it rochav arba, to allow rishus yachid. Okay? Okay, it could be. That's only simply because it goes sideways, not only upside down. It's not clear whether upside down is sufficient or still is because upside down or because it's specifically sideways. I think it's even upside down. So Rabbi Yosef teaches us in a similar case with a bench. It was just a rabbi. Kavah, so which is 10 tefachim high, v'rachab arba, and 4 tefachim wide. Came shul havchos, you could turn over, v'lbatu shul. Now, the way Reb Chaim learns the next few words, he says, Hodam Rashuva Eruv. This teacher says Eruv is valid Eruv. When you turn over the bench, it's fine. Right? And you're allowed to be about to Rishus Yachid. It's the Chiddush, that you're allowed to be about to Rishus Yachid on Shabbos. You're not allowed to carry from Rishus Yachid to Rishus Rabbi, but you're allowed to be about to Rishus Yachid. period. Okay, and then umuta l'tatlo. We're going back to being mishtamish be'ilon. And we said that when the tree is less than 10 tefachim up the tree, right? If the rule of matim is l'matim is 10 tefachim, mutar l'tatlo. According to the girsa of the Korban Eidah, which we have, the matim is 10 tefachim mutar l'tatlo. And we're quoting that in mutar l'tatlo. We're going to discuss it. The Korban Eidah needs to be learning that a Hadamra starts a new thing. Since you're allowed to turn over the basket, Hadamra she'eruva eruva mutar l'tatlo. Sounds like it's a valid aim, and you're allowed to carry. You're allowed to carry it. Regardless, the next one is going to ask him mutar l'tatlo. Whether it's the scenario of the Korban Eidah that it's where you turned it over, and now it's mutar l'tatlo, and even though before we said it sounds like it's also tatlo, but now we're saying, inferring that it's mutar tatlo, and we're asking the question that, or like Reb Chaim, which I think is more likely, that no, if the case you turn over, it's still also to be metatlet. Why? Because it's being mishtamish milon. It's just a ben hashmasha, it's still kind of aib. But the question is when it's below asar tvachim, but more than you're talking from the ground, it's still in the tree. So why is it mutar tatlo? That's what I was asking on. And we're asking Tamatina from Sukkah. You see, not only not allowed to use the sukkah, not even go into the sukkah, which is built in the trees. So Gemara says, Tamatin, if you had two man-made walls in sukkah, and one was a tree, the side of a tree, or even two in a tree, and one made by a man. Kshera, it's kosher. You can't go to the Yotiv because they're afraid you're going to use the tree on the Yotiv. You can't even go into the sukkah and use the Yotiv. Not using the tree. You can't even go into it. So how here are you allowed to, you can't go into Reb Chaim, how are you allowed to eat metalta the Eruv, even if it's below 10 tefachim? You're using the tree. You're touching the tree. So on Rabbi again, Tabati Shtein B'Yadam Echas B'Yadam Shtein B'Yadam Echas B'Yadam Ksher Ve'en Lo B'Yotiv. He was saying that the Eruv is the Eruv, you're allowed to move it. By the sukkah, let's see the Korban Eidah. B'sukkah Eirei shesamach hakarkos sukkah ruba be'ilon. You put the sukkah on the tree. Versus the and you put around it at the top of the tree 2 mechitzos. So it's like a treehouse. So because the floor of the sukkah is from actually the tree. But here it's where the basket is on the side. You're allowed to move it. I don't know. I'm not so happy with that, because it's obvious that the case would be also. So the Reb Chaim says about over there, the Mishnah of the Sukkah says about where you put the schach on the tree itself, not do with the floor. The schach is on the tree, and here you hung the basket on the side of a tree. So the peg is the side of the tree. The peg coming out of the tree, and that is you're not using the tree directly. The schach is actually on the tree itself, or even if you drilled holes in the tree and put the schach into there, you're using the tree itself. Here, there's a peg coming off the side of the tree. Okay, so now we can learn from both ways. Hadaya for minahi, vahi alpha minado. Hadaya alpha, this learns from here, that one learns from this one. Hadaya for minahi, this our case learns from that case, meaning the schach case learns from the case of Eruv. If you have pegs coming outside the tree, you're going to put the schach on the pegs. So, Shaykh Shera, that's kosher. Ain't gonna be yantiv. So like the Reb Chaim will tell you about the schach is on the pegs. So it's only when the schach is on the tree or embedded in the tree, it's also. And this, our case learns out from that case over here. She'im hi oya nasan be'ivo shel ilon. If the air was in the thickness of the tree, the Chaim puts it in a hole in the side of the tree, so it's directly inside the tree. So Eruv, the Eruv is still an Eruv because Shtamish should be in the only Shus and Nishmashas, v'Aser without being allowed to carry it. Amar Rabbi Yosef, bein hacha bein tam min atzad. No, they're both min atzad. The schach is on the actual tree, and the Eruv is on the actual tree. It's on the side of the tree, on the pegs, if you will. So my kedun. So what's the difference? Why is how do we decide the contradiction? Kain Rabbi Yaakov Barach b'Shem Rabbi Zira the b'Shem ben Elazar he. It's like B'Shem ben Elazar. The ones who B'Shem ben Elazar mer mutzah ishtamish l'tzidei behema b'Shabbos. So there's a machlekes. This guy B'Shem ben Elazar allows you to use tzidei behema and the Simon animal, and he'd see the behema tzidei olin. According to him, just like he's mounted tzidei behema, he's mounted tzidei elon. Rabbanan argue. Rabbanan say that we're going to be the last carbonate here. Keich the matter b'shem elazar b'tzidei behema and I matter tzidei elon. But the plea b'shem elazar keich the stream b'tzidei behema keich osi tzidei elon. They answer by both. Okay. So that is reconcile them by saying it's not two different types. One is the tree itself, one is the side, but on the side itself there's a machlekes, the tree and the amaroi. And that's it for today.